So the Seahawks struggled against the Packers in their loss last week, but you gotta look at the positive side.
Hey, I'm Gary Payton at the Seattle Supersonics.
Hey, Peter with the Seattle Mariners.
Jermaine Curse.
Cliff Averill.
Nate Burleson. You're watching NorbCam.
NorbCam.
You're watching NorbCam.
Okay, but seriously, there were positive things in that Seahawks lost to the Packers 17-9 down at Lambeau Field, perpetuating the losing streak since we haven't won in there since 1999. So I was off on that game prediction, but there were positives. But before I go into that, I just wanted to say real quick about this point of the season, okay? So every year it's like this. After game one, there's always a team that's undefeated and another team that hasn't won a game. So everyone's fan base, if you're the team that won, you think you got the greatest team in the world, you're undefeated. And for the teams that lost, fan bases often freak out and go, oh, we're terrible. How did we lose that game? I mean, look at the Patriots. They lost badly to Kansas City. So does that mean they're a horrible team now? Probably not, since the last time they lost badly to Kansas City early in the season, they ended up winning the Super Bowl against us, if I recall. So anything can happen at this point, and it's just easy to overreact to the negative things or the positive things, which means that teams that won this first week probably aren't as good as people think they are, and the teams that lost probably aren't as bad as they think they are right now. Things will even out. Things will go their normal course eventually. So in other words, what I'm trying to say, it's not panic time. Everyone's freaking out about the offensive line and sky is falling in Seattle, just as Aaron Rodgers once said when they were having a bad start to the season, just RELAX, relax, okay? Everything's gonna be fine. So with that said, let's look at a few positives from that game, all right? So first of all, the defensive line and the defense in general is as good as advertised, okay? That pressure that we got going, the pass rush that we got going from our line was awesome. It was strong from start to finish. We got it from the outside, we got it from the inside. Sheldon Richardson was a factor in there, with Cliff Averill doing his thing, Michael Bennett doing his thing, Frank Clark doing his thing. We were really solid. And even on the run defense, we were doing a good job of keeping them at bay. In fact, we finished, I believe, with more rushing yards, believe it or not, than the Packers did. So they did a fantastic job. Earl Thomas was flying in there, making plays, making hits. Richard Sherman with one of the best tackles out there. You kind of forget because so many times the plays don't go his way because they don't throw to him. But man, when he's up there and he steps up in run defense, I'd be hard pressed to find a better tackling corner than Richard Sherman. He just gets down, form tackle, down square, powers through them, through the hips, takes them down. It's awesome to watch, and he had a great tackle in that game. So a lot of great things to love about that defense. Now, of course, in the end, things didn't really go our way, and the defense made some mistakes, gave up some plays, but a lot of it is because the defense was on the field the whole time practically, and eventually those guys wore out. And so you can't expect the defense to play at that level the entire game. They need a breather, they need a break, and that's where I just got to balance things out with the offense and the defense. They did have that mental lapse at one point in the game where they gave up the almost free touchdown where we had a 12th man running off the field. They snapped the ball, we weren't ready, and Jordy Nelson just runs a post pattern, practically uncovered, easy touchdown, which really sealed the game for the Packers. So it's kind of a cheap one if you think about it that way, but they took advantage of the situation, and so that was probably the biggest mental lapse on their side. You know, the other touchdown, of course, came after the Seahawks had a sack fumble, put the ball at our 5 or 6 yard line. Kind of tough to stop them when they're that close. The defense had been bending but not breaking all day long until it got to those two final plays. So you take those two away from the turnover and then that gimme play, I mean, that's 14 points right there. And we only lost by 8. So I thought the defense did an outstanding job. And man, on Sunday, when we're out there making the noise, that defense, I think, is going to be fantastic. One thing they just got to watch out for is one thing that the Packers did a really good job in was the short passing game. They were beating us with these just little crossing routes, 3 or 4 or 5 yards down the field, and you just throw it to a crossing pattern to Cobb, and he just get enough for the first down. They extend drives that way, and they did quite a bit of that. So we're going to have to hopefully not let that happen to us at the next game. I always wonder when teams beat us with little plays like that, I keep wondering, how come we can't do that? I mean, if they're doing it to us, why can't we do it to them? But, you know, they're exploiting the zone, finding those soft spots, which has always been our challenge. You know, even as good as our defense has been, it's been one of those weak spots that tend to get us sometimes, is those spots where we just break down in zone coverage and somebody comes free. We got to tighten that up. But again, it's the first game of the season. Because of the new rules with off-season and practices, players just aren't really in shape. They're just not, they just haven't put enough time in. They haven't spent enough real full first team reps to where they're really ready to go in game one. So I think it's a little bit of all that stuff, and I'm starting to try to defend the offense here a little bit. But defense was outstanding. The other part was special teams. I thought Blair Walsh, our kicker, and John Ryan, our punter. John Ryan, really for a while there, was the MVP of the game because he was punting that ball so deep into Packer territory that allowed the defense to have that bend but don't break, let them get sometimes 30, 40 yards, but because they're so deep to start off with, they were still kept to being out of field goal range for most of the first part of the game. And then Blair Walsh has been money. I mean, first game, he's been perfect on field goals and extra points. So hopefully he can keep that up. I like what I see so far from our kicker. Kicking them deep, kicking, touchbacks and everything. So far so good. I thought Chris Carson looked good since Rawls couldn't play. They tried to make it happen with Lacey and it wasn't really happening. Procise, same thing, didn't really get much going. Carson had a couple of nice runs there as the only running back who really was the most productive. And then the rushing leader for the Seahawks was Russell Wilson. So it was good to see Russell being Russell, breaking the pocket, seeing what's there, and if there's some, everybody's covered and there's a wide open middle of the field, Russell would take off and just go for it. So it was great to see him doing what he couldn't do much of last year. I mean, he probably got more yardage in that game last week than he'd gotten in all first quarter of the season last year because of the injuries to his knee and ankle. So it's good to see Russell doing that. We just need to give him a little bit more time, and everything else will start to come together. All right, let's just flip it now and just look at quickly the negatives on this game. Clearly, everybody's talking about the offensive line. So I'm not going to jump on the offensive line bandwagon because enough has been talked about that. So I'll just say that I think they will improve. They're going to get better. We won't be talking about it in this game, is my hope, and that we will be talking about how much better they looked. But let's just look at really the key things that factored into our loss. The main one is time of possession. They were practically double our time of possession. The Packers had the ball for almost 40 minutes, and we had it just over 20. So they were literally almost double our time, which again, that's hard on the defense. It's demoralizing when our offense is 3 and out. So that's got to change. We've got to do a much better job on maintaining time of possession, which of course means getting first downs. And once again, we were defeated in that category by more than double. We had only 12 first downs to Green Bay's 26. Normally you'd think if you got dominated that much on first downs, you'd think you would have been blown out. And surprisingly, we only lost by 8 points. But that's, again, credit to field position and our defense holding them down. So gave up yards, gave up first downs, but we didn't give up a lot of points. Only at the end there, like I said, with those two crucial plays. So those are probably the two biggest key stats that really jump out that tell the story. Again, we actually outrushed them 90 to 84. Passing yardage, yeah, they got us 286 to 135. Again, more than double on that side, but it's no surprise because our pass protection was not very good. So when you can't pass protect, it's hard to throw the ball down the field. So we got to do a much better job on that red zone. Despite everything that went wrong for Seattle, opportunities that we had, we were in the red zone a couple of times. We had a chance to come away with the touchdown. Especially when we were really close. We were like within the 5-yard line and we couldn't convert it. That can't happen. We've got to score touchdowns when we're in the red zone. And if we do that, I think we win that game. We got to do it more often and more consistently, and we will win a lot more of these games. There was one more thing. So the whole penalty thing. I hate to be one of those fans who blames the officials for a loss. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say that the officials lost the game for us. I'm not going to go as far as to say that. But what I will say is this, is that in a game where the score is so close and when our offense is performing so poorly that the number of opportunities we have to score are so minuscule, every play is crucial. Every opportunity, every down is crucial. And so what was disappointing and was so frustrating about those penalties is that they came on very pivotal, potentially scoring plays. The first one, of course, was that interception by Nazir Jones, basically taking the ball at the line of scrimmage and running with it. And then two unfortunate things that just didn't have to happen happened to negate that should have been pick 6 for the young man. Cliff Averill supposedly blocking Aaron Rodgers in the back. Yeah, he kind of got his hands on his back, but it looked almost to me like a push from the side / back, but it was such a soft brushing that it didn't even impede his progress. To me, it's like if you're going to call the block in the back, the guy should at least react to the block. Otherwise, it didn't really cause anything, right? Because he never broke stride. Aaron Rodgers kept on running even though he got his hands on the back. So, unfortunately, they threw the flag on that. Then the other one was the Jeremy Lane penalty for being ejected for throwing the punch. Now, I think everyone's talked about it, that you watch the tape, and nowhere in there does it show him actually throwing a punch. And I think he kind of got in, forearm on his throat and stuff, and that could be considered a violent act right there, but the referee said he was ejected because he threw a punch. But I don't remember, I didn't see a punch, and I don't think anybody else has actually ever seen the punch. And even the commentators and everybody else was confused, wondering why we made that call. So hard to say how much that affected the game. It obviously forced Shaquille Griffin to come in there and basically take over full time and be that corner on the other side. And I thought actually did a pretty good job. He had a couple of breakups there that could have been touchdowns that he broke up, or at least long pass plays that he did a good job of staying with the receiver, stride for stride, and at the last second turning his head around to knock the ball out. That's what I think is so great about him and his skills. So it was good to see him actually getting some reps in place of Jeremy Lane. But as far as him being ejected for that reason, it sure seemed like the proof was not there. You know, no proof has been shown. So throwing a flag is one thing, but ejection, you got to have something blatant, you know, that's pretty obvious that somebody did something that should be able to see it on the replay to get ejected. And then the other one, the other big missed call, which was really bad. The Jimmy Graham no call when he had two guys on him at the back of the end zone. He was just getting mauled, really by both of them. But the one who was on him, he had his hand on his face mask. He had a hand behind his back. Guy never looked back for the ball. I mean, those three things right there, normally any one of those things is a call for pass interference. He did all three. They didn't call pass interference. And then there was the other guy, and I think he was making some contact too. So I don't understand that one at all. That one was frustrating because I think maybe they said it was uncatchable ball, but that ball was very catchable from what I could see because it just barely went over his head. And if he'd been allowed to not be interfered with and actually jump up and get it, he probably could catch that ball. But when you're being interfered with, yeah, it becomes uncatchable because you're being mugged down there, so you can't catch the ball because you got a guy draped all over you. So that was bad. And if not a touchdown, that puts the ball at the 1 yard line, and we most likely score a touchdown there. So that was a big game changer. So those two calls, there were others, other holding, no calls, but those two are the ones that to me are the big ones. Potentially scoring plays. A touchdown on one, pick six, and then the potential touchdown on the subsequent play if they throw the penalty flag. So again, that's not why we lost, but those plays could have had a significant impact on the game and would have changed, you know, ultimately the final score to the point where we could have won. So I'll just leave it at that. Special teams is great, defense is great. Just got to get our offense rolling. So what better time to get it rolling than against our nemesis, our arch rival, the San Francisco 49ers, who come into town on Sunday for our home opener. This should be a heck of a party. First game of the year. This is where everybody comes in full voice, and it's going to be intense. I can't wait to share this game experience with you guys. I'll be streaming this from inside the stadium as usual, so it'll be fun to have you guys along to check that out. We're coming into this game heavily favored, as we should be, but it also makes me nervous whenever we do, because then you got this expectation that you're supposed to come in here and score a whole ton of points, and then of course if you don't, you go through the first quarter and it's only like 3-0, or you're down by 3 or something, all of a sudden people are freaking out. Oh, we should be killing them 14-0 right now. So I never like being too favored, and we're like 2 touchdown favorites in this game, and even I put them down as more than 2 touchdown favorites. I think I put them 31-14 is what I predicted for the Seahawks in this game, and I'm going to stick by that. Of course, I made a prediction before I saw the woes of the first game, but I think this will be a bounce back game for the offense. So what's it going to take to beat the 49ers? Well, in all honesty, it's not going to take much, because all we got to do is do what we did last week, except on offense. The line has got to block better, it's got to protect better, and we just got to convert on third down and score in the red zone. Touchdowns in the red zone. We do that and we will and should win this game. That's really all that's missing. You do that, convert third downs, you know, not every single one, but obviously as efficiently as we are capable of, and score touchdowns more often than not in the red zone, and we will win by a score as we predicted. Defense just got to do what we do, and we got the noise factor. I don't know if you guys saw, but on the picture that they showed of Levi Stadium, at the opening kickoff, the place looked sparsely filled, like a, you know, preseason game. It's your opening game. You know, place looks half empty, and then they show the second half kickoff, and man, there was hardly a soul in the seats. That won't be the case here, and the Niners are, I'm sure, not going to be ready for this kind of noise, because they don't have a crowd that brings it like that. They're going to definitely be coming into the hornet's nest this weekend. You know, what to make of the 49ers. Yeah, the 49ers are kind of looked at as one of the lower level tier teams right now, struggling in a rebuilding process, but their quarterback, Brian Hoyer's been a veteran. He's been around for a while. I've never been really impressed by him. He's been one of those journeyman guys who's kind of bounced from one team to the next, never really excelled, but he's been one of those guys that's just kind of hung around and good enough to be a backup and occasional starter, but not the kind that you have to really think about as take you to the promised land kind of guys, you know. But they've got a decent running game, you know, and they got some decent guys on weapons, and they got a pretty tough defensive line too. So, hold on a sec.
What are you looking at? That's right, it's Chrysostomo, taking over this video. I don't know what he's talking about. NorbCam. He's so full of it. Thinks he's so smart. So arrogant about his Seahawks. Telling you, man, 49ers are gonna bring it this Sunday. Oh, you think you can just roll all over us, don't you? No, I'm telling you, we got some surprises of our own. Kyle Shanahan, we got some tricks up our sleeve that you might not be prepared for. 49ers are gonna come in there and we're gonna kick your
Man, I gotta step up security around here. I don't know how he got in here. Anyway, I gotta clean up this mess, but that's it. That's it for this this Norblog. We'll talk to you guys soon. Check out my live stream at from CenturyLink Field this Sunday. Seahawks 49ers. Let's get it on. Don't forget to subscribe and click right over here and check out my other videos. I've got over here and here and here. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching as always, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Go Hawks.
Go Niners!